Now, I want to go to the issue of Russia now, and it relates to Ukraine as well. But this is Russia hitting back at people who have criticised it over its behaviour, its invasion of Ukraine. And the revelations this morning that well over 100 Australians, a lot of journalists, a lot of business leaders, a lot of my colleagues here at Sky News and The Australian and at Nine Media and elsewhere have been effectively banned from Russia. Now, I don't know how many were planning to go on holidays in St. Petersburg anytime soon, but they have been banned. And one of them was the new South Australian Labor Premier, Peter Malinauskas, and he wasn't worried at all. In fact, I think he was honoured to be banned by Vladimir Putin. Have a look.
Very quickly upon coming to government, my government has sought to do a number of things to send a very clear message that the people of South Australia stand firmly with Ukraine, as does every state and territory. And I'm just grateful for the fact that Vladimir Putin took notice. My heritage, Malinauskas, is a Lithuanian last name, and my family knows all too well the human tragedy that can occur in the face of unacceptable Russian aggression, and I'm very proud of the fact that my government's played a leadership role, and I look forward to doing that in the future.
Yeah, well said and well done, Peter Malinauskas. Let's bring in Michael Shoebridge, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Good to talk to you again, Michael. What is Vladimir Putin hoping to gain by banning journalists and politicians and business leaders in Australia from going to Russia? Is it just some sort of PR attempt?
Well, Chris, I think it's a combination of a temper tantrum and anxiety. Autocrats through history have always had glass jaws. They fear the power of freedom of speech because it will expose their brutality and their crimes. And Putin is in the middle of mass barbarity and criminal behaviour in Ukraine, where he's killing thousands of men and women and children, and in his own country, where he's repressing dissidents, arresting, poisoning and killing them, people like Alexei Navalny. So this list is saying, I wish I could do that to people living in freedom that I can't reach. But, you know, his list is a bit like an Arnott's biscuit random assortment. It's got Peter Costello, Ida Buttrose, the Chief Finance Officer of the Defence Department, and JJ Fruin, the National COVID Coordinator. So maybe it tells us Russian intelligence isn't that switched on when it comes to Australia.
It is a pretty odd list. For some of those, they've missed out as well. But it's, I suppose, an attempt to intimidate people from criticising Russia. And as we heard from Peter Malinauskas there, it's certainly not going to do that in this country, surely.
No, I think it re-energises people's support to Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine and the Ukrainian people as they fight back against Putin's brutality. The kind of freedoms they're fighting to protect are the kind of freedoms we have here. You know, sitting here in Canberra, I can speak my mind. That's not possible for those living under Putin's reign or under Xi Jinping's reign, his strategic partner in Beijing.
Now, Vladimir Zelensky continues to ask the West to give him more and more help as his soldiers continue to hold off the Russians and, in fact, push them out of areas. He had European leaders go into Kiev and other parts of Ukraine yesterday and pledge more support for him. And he's suggesting that maybe Anthony Albanese ought to visit him in Kiev, in the capital. Do you think that would be a wise thing for Anthony Albanese to do?
Absolutely. That is exactly something that a Prime Minister like Mr Albanese, who's already showing a deep commitment to national security and international affairs, that's what he should do. But he better bring something along when he does. Maybe that's more Bushmasters, maybe that's some small armed drones from a Victorian company called Defendex. But practical help is what President Zelensky wants, not just words of support.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we're a very big donor compared to most non-NATO nations. It is extraordinary to see people going into the capital while the war is going on. Did Zelensky get any further commitments, just briefly, from those European visitors?
Not a lot. And one problem with these visitors is they're trying to calibrate what they give so that Ukraine doesn't lose, but it doesn't win. And I think that's a gross error. We have to have the Ukrainians defeat Putin, and we have to help.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. Well said.